Hello and welcome to my channel Making Crafts. Today I'm going to show you how I make these layered pockets, and I'm going to show you two ways you can make them. One is with a digital kit and the other is just with regular cardstock. I know that a lot of people cannot use digital kits, they can't print them, so I want to show you both ways. Also, even if you can do digital kits, a lot of times you like to use cardstock in your journals, so I'm going to show you both ways. These are really simple, easy pockets to make. The easiest of the two would be with the digital, but this one's just as simple. It just requires, cutting out and doing a little bit more measuring, but it's not that bad. So for the first one, I'm just using a digital from Summer Blooms, and it is by Line Dot Arrow and Rachel Bella Crafts, and it's the one I'm working on this week. It's a journal that I'm working on for a design team, and so I'm part of the design team collaboration for that kit. And so all I've done is cut out the pockets from the kit, and a lot of kits come with pockets similar to this. Some of them have the flaps, and well, they all have the flaps, and then they have this either slanted, or it goes straight across, or it may go straight across with a dipped in cut out half circle. And so you can use any of those for this. And so you want to take them and find three that you want to put together. This kit came with 4 on one page and I think 4 on another page. So these are the ones I've decided to put together. And so then you do want to go ahead and ink the tops of those, because once you put them together, you will not be able to go back and ink the tops. So I'm just going to do that one real quick to show you, because see, it stands out better if you do ink the tops, which if you cut these perfectly, these do have brown lines on them, so they will stand out even without the inking. Okay, so then I've just layered it up, so I have my top one, my middle one, and my bottom one. So you want to start out with your middle pocket. And so what you want to do is you want to make it a little smaller than you would if you were normally putting it together. So what you're going to do is just fold it so that the dotted line, let me get my camera, so that the dotted line is on the back, and you just have a little bit of the image still past that. And you're going to do that for both flaps, and then the bottom, it doesn't really matter. You can just have it line up perfect at the bottom. So then, since you are making it smaller than the digital planned for, you will have to go in and just cut. Let me see if I can get close up so you can see. You just have to cut that little extra flap that's hanging over, which is not that big a deal. Okay, so once you get that, so that's your middle pocket, then you want to take and open it back up. We're not gluing it yet. And you want to take and lay your top pocket inside of the middle pocket, so that you are making sure that you are folding it. So you want to center it up in there. So I'm just centering it up, and then I'm going to fold it over, and you can just take that pocket and fold over that you already had so that it helps you line it up. And so then I'm just going to fold it over, make sure I do get it lined up here. Do want to center it. Oops. Let me get it all centered up here again. So you want to center it and then just fold over, and make sure you fold it over so that it's fitting inside the score lines that you made when you folded your pocket before. So I'm making sure it fits inside those score lines, and so it's inside that line on this side. So now, and remember, you're not going to be able to fold it over because you're going to have to trim that flap, but this is just a good way to get the right size without having to fidget with this so much. And so once again, you're just going to fold this one over so that you can see your fold line there. And then you're going to fold it up, and it's going to be a little smaller than what the pocket was intended to be, so you're just going to trim your edges just of your little flap that's in the back side. Okay, so then you can test it to make sure you've got everything right. Then you're just going to fold this one over and this one over. Oops. You're going to make sure you got it centered. So you're going to fold it over and press down, fold it over and press down. I just got that one. Got a little crooked when I was folding. Okay, and then you'll fold up and everything fits together nicely. So you can go ahead and glue that together. So what we want to do is we want to start out by gluing the bottom flap of the middle pocket. I'm just going to fold that up and glue it. And then we want to glue, and I want to see, I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch. You don't have to measure it, this was a little bit less. I'm going to do about 1/4 of an inch right here. That's my little gap there, so I can kind of know, so when I add this one, that everything's equal. And so then I'm just going to add a little glue to the flaps and glue the flaps down of the middle pocket to the top pocket. And so everything's glued together. And then I'm going to lay these pockets inside of the bottom pocket, and I want to center it up really well. So just center it up, and then you're just going to fold over and press, and then fold the other side over and press, and then you're going to fold up and press. And if you want to look and see, do you have any of the little white showing? And I have just a little, so I'm just going to open the flap up, and I'm just going to cut it at an angle. So I'm sure to get that little bit. So then you just, once again, you're going to glue your flap down, glue it shut, and then I want to make sure, so what I want to do is I want to make sure that I left a 1/4 inch here. I want to leave the same amount here, or just eyeballing it so it looks good, so that they're equal. And then you're just going to glue the flap from the bottom pocket to the middle pocket, and here as well. Oops, split it just a little. Let me make sure I got it lined up. And there you have your layered pocket. And so when you add it to your journal, you can add it 2 ways. You can add it just gluing around through here. And I'm going to add some glue here. It's puckering. But you can add glue. Once you see that you got all your flaps, you can start attaching the flaps even more. But you can glue. Or you can also glue down through here and then across these lines, because even if you glue across there, you're still going to have your pockets that are going to work. And I will be adding this to my Summer Bloom journal this week. So if you are curious how I add these, just check out that video, the one where I'm putting together my Summer Bloom journal. And this is going to upload before it does, so you'll just have to wait a couple of days, and then the Summer Bloom journal will be uploaded. So if you're watching this later and not this week, you'll definitely be able to find it. You'll just need to search. I'll have a list for the Summer Bloom journal, and you can find the one where I'm putting it together and add the pockets. Okay, so now for the paper one, this is just a paper pack from Michael's, and it was one of the hot buys from last year. I think it was like $5 a pack last year. So I bought up a bunch of different ones, and so I doubt they have this one this year, but they always have something very similar each year. And I mean, as the styles change, it does change, but since this is last year's, I feel like they'll have something similar. So for this one, but you can use any pack of paper to make this work. So you don't have to have this kind, and this one's got nothing on the back. You can use double-sided as well, but I prefer for projects like this when you're not going to flip it over and see it. I always have a hard time deciding what side to use, so I thought, well, this will be perfect to use for this project. So we're going to cut it 4 1/4 wide by about 3 3/4 tall. And so you're just going to cut, we need 3 pieces of paper, 3 papers that go well together. And I thought these 3 did, so these 3 all came from the pack. So we're going with, make sure I said, before I forget what I was saying, okay, 4 1/4 wide by 3 3/4 tall. And let's just cut all these out here. So one more time, 4 1/4 wide by 3 3/4 tall. That way we have our 3 pieces for our pockets. So now, we need a paper trimmer again, because we're going to cut the slant at the top. So I'm going to have this one as the bottom. I think this one will be the middle, and this will be the top. Or do I want it? I think I'm going to do it like that instead. So I want this one to slant down that way, kind of to follow with the pumpkins. So I'm just going to hold it in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to have the top corner right on the line of my paper trimmer of where it's going to trim. The top left corner is going to be on the line, and then the bottom corner here, the bottom right corner, I'm going to put it on 1 inch. And let's see what that looks like. I think that's a good slant for the pocket. Okay, and so this one, I want this one to go the opposite direction. So the easiest way for me is to put it in backwards. So the back side showing, and just do the same thing as I did for the first one. The edge up at the top here on the line, and then the bottom edge at 1 inch. And trim. And I can check those to see if I got those. Yeah, they're very close. And so now, see, when you flip it back over with the right side showing, it's cut the right direction. And so this one's going to be the same as the bottom one. The top and bottom are always the same. So once again, your left-hand side corner is at the top, and I hope you can see that on camera, exactly where the cutting line is on the paper trimmer. And then the bottom right-hand corner is on the 1 inch line. And so you do mine has a little markings on this side, so that's why I'm saying 1 inch line. Mine has about 2 inch markings over there. So that gets you your little slant. And now we can put our paper trimmer up. So I'm going to start with my middle one, and I'm just going to fold it in about 1/4 of an inch, just like this. Just trying to get it straight and fold it 1/4 of an inch over on both sides. And then just press it down. Let's get our bone folder and press that. And you could score these on your scoreboard, but I'm just going to do it this way because I think it's going to be easier this way to make everything fit. So then I'm just, and I'm starting with the middle one for a reason. I'm starting with the middle one because I want to, the bottom one's going to have to be just a little bigger than the top and middle in order for it all to fit in. So you'll see in just a moment why. Okay, so once I fold it, I'm opening it back up, and you can see, try to hold it up there, the little squares. We want to cut these squares out. So they'll be out of our way so we can fold it up and there won't be all that bulk there. And I gotta get my scissors lined up to cut them. So we're just cutting on the score line and cutting the little squares out. And don't stress it, you can't mess this up. If you cut too much or too little, it'll still be okay. Okay, and so then if you see here how this corner slants, we gotta get some of the bulk out of that, because if we fold it over, well, I'll just show you. If I fold it over, it's going to show. You could fold it over and just cut it if you want to use that as your guide. Or you can just cut it down yourself. And so then I like to cut the corners on the bottoms here just slightly, just to get some of that bulk out of the bottom. I don't know that you have to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one that I already folded up as the guide for the one I haven't folded. And so if you remember, it's got to go inside of this one. Just like when we made the printed ones, the digital ones, this one's the same way. So we just got to make it go inside it. So I'm going to lay it there, and then what I'm doing is I'm just folding over so that it goes on the inside line. And then once I get my little crease there, I'm just going to press it down. And you can lay it back in there to make sure that you've got it so that this can fold over it. And so now I'm just going to take and just fold again. And see, I'm folding this one over, and that kind of gives me my spot for the one that's going inside it. And I think that just helps you to get it all fitting in together. And see, that way it all fits together. And once again, we got this little corner here. We just want to cut that little edge off so we don't see it. So we've got these two together. And so we've got those fitting nicely. So now let's do the bottom one. So all we want to do is we can take the top one out now so it isn't in our way. We just want to lay, since this one is going to fit inside the bottom one, we're going to lay it on top of the bottom one and kind of just center it, just eyeball center it, and then just fold it over. And you can just fold it over and make it straight, and this will make it so much easier to go together. It's easier than scoring it because it's always going to be, the bottom one always needs to be a little bit bigger. Each one needs to be just these two need to be a little bit bigger than the next one so that it all fits together. So there, that will fit. And then you just want to fold up on your bottom and get yourself a bottom on each one. And so we've already done the middle one bottom. So now I'm just doing the bottom on the other two. And I'm going to use my bone folder because I want to get those score lines in there so that I can cut my little squares out again. So let me just show you again. You're going to cut that little square. You can barely see it. Let me see if I can score that there so you can see what I'm talking about. So make sure you can just cut that little square out there. Right in there, you can see it. So we're just going to trim it out. So you're just cutting on your score lines and cutting the little square out of each corner. And if you've made boxes or envelopes or most anything that you score like that you're making, you're going to have to do that. So if you've done that before, excuse me, if you've made things like that before, then you know that you have to cut those out. But I really want to also, I try to make my videos so that beginners can also use my videos. I want my videos to be able, beginners can use them as well as those that's used to paper crafting. It's ideas for those who already know how to paper craft. So a lot of these instructions you probably won't need me to walk you through. But then for those who are new to paper crafting, I want to be sure that I walk them through all these instructions so that they can learn as well. So I know some of the things I keep repeating and it seems kind of the same thing, but I just want to make sure that your project turns out like you want it to, turns out nicely. And especially if you're a beginner, I want to be sure that you understand so that your project can turn out perfect each time you make something that I show. Okay, so I'm just scoring these up real good. Just scoring them down, I guess you should say, instead of up. And so I'm just going to, before I glue it, I'm going the bottom down. I'm going to go ahead and put my middle one inside, and see, since we fold them over each other, it's going to slide in there perfectly. And I just got to decide how much sticking out do I want. I think I'm going to have about, that looks about 3/4 of an inch. If I do that all the way up, it shouldn't be too tall. So let's do 3/4 of an inch right here. But you can adjust that measurement to fit whatever size page you are making. Because if you make a smaller journal, you're going to need, you're going to need it to be closer together, and you're going to need smaller pockets. Or if you're making a larger journal, you could have it taller. And let me show you, I did make one for a larger journal, and I will give you the measurements for that one as well. And I'll just show it to you real quick. So you can make these, you can adjust the size on these, for whatever size journal you're doing. So right here, I'm just going to get down in that flap right there. I'm just going to glue down just a little bit, as well as right here at this little flap, just glue the two envelopes together. Now don't forget, we got to make sure they're straight. I just moved mine, so I want to make sure it's straight still. And once again, I'm going to raise this flap up. I'm just going to glue the bottom flap, and then just making sure this is straight. And you can kind of look right here to see that it's straight. And then I'm just going to glue that down. And then you just want to hold it right there. Just hold and get the glue. My glue tonight don't want to hold. I don't know if it's the weather or what. Okay, so I'm just going to get it all glued down there. Okay, so now we have our top one. Once again, I'm just going to go ahead and take, this is part I haven't been doing, but I think it'll make it easier. Just take and glue the flap, bottom flap shut. And then, remember, just gluing on the sides here now, not down in here, because that's where our tags have to go down in. I'm just going to score it real good, because I want it nice and flat. So then I'm just going to add this one, and I just want to turn it to the top, to the front, because I want to make sure I have about 3/4 of an inch. Just eyeballing it, and I'm just using this to kind of help me see. And so there, I want to make sure that's the right height to fit my page. Yes, it'll be perfect. So now I'm just going to turn it over, and I'm just going to glue this flap here and this flap over here. And I'm just putting some glue up under there. And then I'll just hold it down for just a moment. I can use my bone folder to press it too. And look how nice that turns out. And one thing I forgot to do was I forgot to ink it. But that's not too big of a deal, because since this one was dark, it's not, if your pages is light, you're really going to want to ink them just so your layers can show. But I'll just ink a little. Now, I'll just go back and ink some of the edges, and that'll help some, but you don't have to ink them either. I guess it would depend on your journal too. Some journals I ink, some journals I don't. It depends on the paper. There you have a little pocket, and let's see, here's just a little something laying here, so you could stick something in each little pocket. And then, of course, this one will be a pocket, and here's one I made. And this is a larger one for a larger journal, and this is Tim Holtz paper. And this one, I made it. So if you remember, when we cut this one, we cut it at 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. This one was made using, let me make sure I take, this one was made using 4 1/2 by 4 1/2 squares. And then I did the same thing cutting the slant, but this time when I cut the slant, I cut it I think it was around 1 1 1/4. when I measured it out. So this is, you can adjust the size to make whatever size pockets you need for the size journal you're making. But I thought these were a lot of fun, so I wanted to share them with you. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will try these, and I think that you will enjoy it too. And if you have any questions concerning the pockets or anything, just comment below, and right below the description you can comment and just ask anything that you'd like, and I will try to explain it the best I can. And you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook if you have any questions about these, and I'd love to see yours. So if you make one, be sure to tag me on Instagram. I would love to see what you make. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.